Hi, I'm Kasha. I'm really excited about reading this new book, I Want to Be a Superhero by Brianna Humes and illustrated by Amberlynn Quai-Mulliner. The reason I'm excited is that Amberlynn has illustrated some of my favourite picture books, one of which is I Love Me, which is written by Sally Morgan. And this one is written by Brianna Humes, she's a young Indigenous woman who actually wrote this story when she was 8 years old, and it's full of the optimism and hope of an 8-year-old. And basically, it follows this awesome little girl who wants to be a superhero and she wants to fly. Such beautiful illustrations, and she believes that she can achieve this by wishing on a shooting star. Her family tells her that wishing on a shooting star won't work, but her grandpa gives it a good go anyway. She makes her wish, she doesn't become a superhero, but then she learns from another family member that she can become a superhero by studying at school and doing everyday superhero things, by learning to become a doctor, all these kinds of superheroes. So it's a really joyous book, and I think it's full of hope and the wonder that kids have, and you can use it with really young kids, but you can also use it with older kids when they're in school as well.
Hi, I'm Freya and I recommend Sing Me the Summer by Jane Godwin and Alison Lester. Both of these Australian authors are two of my favourite, as they hold a lot of nostalgia for me because I grew up reading both of them. Alison Lester illustrated this lovely book, and it's all about the seasons and all the things we can do during the different seasons in Australia. I'll show you some of the beautiful illustrations, such as this beach scene and the lovely words that is poetic and gorgeous by Jane Godwin. I love how she uses the true essence of all the seasons to capture everything you can do during the day and night, and all the beautiful events and I guess little surprises you can find in store in each of the seasons. Thank you.
I'm a fan of this new book, Hold On, Saving the Spotted Handfish. It's by Gina Newton and illustrated by Rachel Trudeau. And it's about a fish I've never heard of, a small, very small fish that is native to the coast of Tasmania, just a little small spot near Hobart. And I learned so much about this. And I think that's the best thing about a picture book, where it can take a complex subject and make it accessible and such that the whole family can learn something. And I loved it.
One of my favourite Aussie reads of 2020 has been Theory of Hummingbirds. This one is about a girl in grade 4 who's been undergoing surgery her whole life to get her foot facing forward. So she's lived with a disability her whole life, and her goal is to run the cross-country race. She's also got this really sweet little best friend called Levi, who believes there is a wormhole in the teacher librarian's office. It's just a really sweet little story for, I'd recommend 8+, with a bit more emotional intelligence and themes of empathy and putting yourself in other people's shoes. So I really love this one.
This is A Clue for Clara, which is a brilliant book by Leanne Tanner, who writes a lot of awesome fantasy. I really love her Rogues trilogy. This isn't my usual cup of tea. I'm not really talking animals in books person. I prefer my creatures to be dragons, but we have here Clara, who is determined to show her worth in the world by being a world-class detective and kind of showing off to the rest of the chickens in the coop. Now she meets a human who doesn't want to be her sidekick, who she initially gets to be a sidekick, and she talks to them through messaging them on their phone and talking to them in Morse code and teaching them all sorts of things. And it's a beautiful story because it's set in rural Australia. It has a story of grief going alongside it, a lot of friendship, but mostly it's just funny as they try to discover who is stealing all the chicken soup. Oh no, sheep soup, which is actually the stock, but Clara's kind of confused by that. The beats of humor are really good. The moments of like kind of noticing all the stupid things humans do are really funny. It's just a great detective novel. Would really, really recommend.
Patrick Guest is not only an author, he's also a physiotherapist. And so when COVID hit, he had to make the very difficult decision to move out of the family home because his son has a serious medical condition that he couldn't stay in the house because Patrick was worried about bringing COVID into the family. So he moved out, but each day or each week he would go and visit the family, and he would play games and chat to the family members outside his son's window. So, but he found it really hard that he couldn't actually touch his family. So what they've done is they've taken the kids' experience. It starts out the window, I can see a new world looking back at me. And that's kind of like quite a Queensland house. And then we move through, almost moving through the world. So it's a New York apartment, and it's just going through, seeing what the kids have seen from their windows. And then it brings in the people who have missed them the most, and that's their grandparents. And so towards the end, the grandparents come and visit them, and they dance outside the windows. And it makes me cry every time. And so it ends with, and hug the ones we really miss.